Hello guys, welcome you all to the Insights into Books podcast. Before we start, kindly follow or subscribe us, and if you want, daily summary files of these books, then subscribe us on Gumroad. Links are in description. Now, let's start today's discussion, guys. So today we're tackling something pretty fundamental, actually. A huge disconnect in, well, how we try to get things done, especially at work. We're diving deep into the surprising science of motivation.
That's right. It's this puzzle, isn't it? We have decades of research telling us one thing about what makes people tick, what drives real performance and satisfaction.
And yet, what do most businesses, schools, even parents do? Often it's the complete opposite. It's like we're running on software that's seriously out of date.
Exactly. We're stuck on this old operating system. You could call it Motivation 2.0, and the science is clearly showing we need an upgrade. A big one.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. First, let's unpack why that traditional carrot and stick model, Motivation 2.0, is basically obsolete for a lot of the work we do now.
And then, crucially, map out what the upgrade looks like. Motivation 3.0, which is all about tapping into those drives that come from within us, the intrinsic stuff.
Okay, so maybe a quick history lesson first. Where did these ideas even come from?
Well, you can think of it in stages. Motivation 1.0, that's the baseline, purely biological. Survival, finding food, water, shelter, safety, sex, the basics that kept our species going.
Right, the absolute fundamentals. Makes sense.
But once societies got a bit more complex and basic survival wasn't the only thing on people's minds day in, day out, we evolved, or rather, we developed Motivation 2.0.
Ah, the carrot and stick. Rewards and punishments.
Precisely. This model assumes humans are like simple economic calculators. We respond predictably to external forces. You dangle a reward, we work harder. You threaten a punishment, we comply.
And this really took off during the Industrial Revolution, didn't it? It kind of fit perfectly with that factory mindset.
It did. Think about assembly lines. Very routine, algorithmic tasks. Tasks where there's a clear set of steps, a formula to follow. If you want more widgets produced, offer a bonus per widget. If someone's slacking, dock their pay.
Treat people like inputs in a machine, basically.
And for that kind of work, Motivation 2.0, well, it works reasonably well. It was efficient for managing large numbers of people doing predictable, repetitive jobs. That was the bulk of the economy for a long time.
Here's the crunch, right? The world has changed dramatically.
Absolutely. The 21st century economy isn't primarily built on algorithmic tasks anymore. Most job growth, most value creation comes from conceptual work, creative work, problem solving, analysis, collaboration.
Things that don't have a simple formula. Right. There's no instruction manual for innovation.
Exactly. And the moment you shift from that simple rule-based work to anything requiring, genuine thought, creativity, judgment, Motivation 2.0 starts to break down badly.
It's not just ineffective, it can actually be harmful.
That's what the science strongly suggests. And this isn't some brand new discovery either. The seeds of understanding this third drive, beyond biology and rewards punishments, were planted a long time ago.
You're talking about that famous monkey study, aren't you? Harry Harlow?
That's the one, back in 1949. At the time, the prevailing view in psychology behaviorism was very much Motivation 2.0. Animals, including humans, were thought to only act to satisfy biological needs or to get external rewards.
So Harlow set up this experiment with rhesus monkeys. What did he do?
He gave them these simple mechanical puzzles, things like pulling pins, undoing hooks, lifting latches. He just put them in the monkeys' cages, expecting they'd ignore them unless maybe food was involved later as a reward for solving them.
But that's not what happened.
Not at all. The monkeys, completely unprompted, started playing with the puzzles, and not just randomly poking at them. They were focused, determined, concentrating, and they seemed to get genuine pleasure, like real satisfaction from figuring them out.
With no external reward, no banana pellets or anything.
Nothing. They solved the puzzles over and over, getting faster, seemingly just for the inherent enjoyment of mastering the challenge. Harlow was stunned. He wrote about this intrinsic motivation, a drive to solve the puzzle for its own sake.
A third drive. Wow. So even in monkeys, there's this innate desire to figure things out, to be competent.
It was a huge finding. It suggested that we and other higher primates aren't just passive responders to external stimuli. We have this built-in urge to learn, to explore, to master our environment. It comes from within. It's self-renewing.
That really lays the groundwork for understanding what's called type I behavior driven by these internal intrinsic factors.
Exactly. Type I is intrinsic. Type X, the older model, is extrinsic.
And if you think, oh, that's just monkeys in a lab, you just need to look around at some massive real-world projects today.
Oh, definitely. The contrast is stark. Think about, say, encyclopedias. Remember Microsoft Encarta?
Yeah, huge project, tons of money poured into it, paid experts, editors, managers,
Yeah.
the whole corporate structure. Pure motivation 2.0,
Yeah.
professional work for professional pay.
Textbook Type X. Huge resources. Clear financial incentives for everyone involved. Now compare that to Wikipedia.
Right. Built by, well, who builds Wikipedia?
Thousands of volunteers.
Tens of thousands.
Hmm.
People with expertise, often highly educated, spending their free time writing, editing, fact-checking complex articles for absolutely zero pay.
It sounds economically irrational, doesn't it? Why would people do high-skill work for free?
If you only believe in motivation 2.0, it makes no sense at all. An economist 20, 30 years ago would have said, Encarta wipes the floor with Wikipedia. But what happened?
Encarta is gone. Wikipedia is everywhere. It dominates.
It proves the point powerfully. For complex, creative, knowledge-based work that requires ongoing effort and care, intrinsic motivation, the type I desire to contribute, to share knowledge, to be part of something meaningful, often outperforms extrinsic, type X motivation by a huge margin.
People are driven by more than just the paycheck, especially when the work itself has potential for meaning or mastery. That internal drive can be incredibly powerful and resilient. Which brings us back to the problem. If intrinsic motivation is so effective for modern work, why do we keep defaulting to the old carrot and stick methods? And what damage does it actually do?
Okay, let's get into the specifics. The 7 deadly flaws of those traditional contingent rewards. We need to be clear, we're mostly talking about if-then rewards, right?
Yes, that contingency is crucial. If you achieve this target, then you will get this bonus. Or, if you finish this project on time, then you'll get a raise. It sets up a direct transaction.
And the first big flaw you mentioned is that these rewards can actually extinguish intrinsic motivation. How does that work psychologically? Rewarding something should make you want to do it more, shouldn't it?
You'd think so, but it often does the opposite, especially if the person already had some internal interest. It's about perceived control. When you offer an if-then reward for something I might have done anyway because I enjoyed it or found it interesting.
Like kids drawing. I remember that study.
Exactly. The Mark Lepper study is classic. Preschoolers who enjoyed drawing were divided into groups. One group was told beforehand they'd get a Good Player Award certificate if they drew.
The if-then group.
Right. Another group drew, and then unexpectedly got the same award afterwards. Now that reward, we could call it. And a third group just drew, no award mentioned or given.
Okay, so what happened later?
A couple of weeks later, observers watched the kids during free playtime. The kids who had been promised the award, the if-then group, they spent significantly less time drawing than the other two groups.
Wow, so the reward actually killed their interest.
It seemed to. By making the drawing contingent on the reward, the activity itself changed in their minds. It shifted from play to work. It became a means to an end, getting the certificate. Once the external reason the reward was gone, their internal desires seemed diminished. The intrinsic motivation got crowded out.
That's profound. Okay, flaw number 2 is even more surprising. These rewards can diminish performance, not just interest, but actual results.
Yes, particularly on tasks that require more than just mechanical skill. Tasks involving cognitive effort, creativity, problem solving. There's a lot of research on this from places like MIT, the London School of Economics.
How can offering a bigger reward lead to worse performance? That seems totally backwards.
It's often about pressure and focus. When the stakes get really high, say, a huge bonus tied to a complex task, it can induce stress and anxiety. People can choke. The intense focus on the reward itself can narrow their thinking and actually interfere with the cognitive processes needed to perform well.
So instead of sharpening focus productively, it creates tunnel vision or pressure that hinders thinking.
Exactly. Studies done in different cultures using various tasks from simple addition to more complex problem-solving games found a consistent pattern. For purely mechanical tasks, larger rewards sometimes led to slightly better performance. But for tasks requiring even rudimentary cognitive skill, higher rewards often led to worse performance.
So offering your top salesperson a giant bonus to land a make-or-break client might actually make them less likely to succeed.
It's a real risk, according to this research. The pressure might undermine their ability to think creatively, adapt, or build rapport effectively in that high-stakes situation.
Which leads straight into flaw number 3. Rewards can crush creativity. You mentioned narrowed focus.
Yes, rewards inherently signal, do this, get that. They focus attention on the goal and the path to the reward. But creativity often requires the opposite, a broad focus, exploring possibilities, seeing connections, thinking laterally.
Like the famous candle problem.
The candle problem is the perfect illustration, Carl Dunker's experiment. You're given a candle, a box of thumbtacks, and some matches. Your job is to fix the candle to the wall so wax doesn't drip on the table.
And the trick is realizing the box isn't just for holding tacks. You can tack the box to the wall and use it as a platform for the candle. You have to overcome functional fixedness.
Precisely. Now, when researchers offered one group a financial reward for solving this quickly, if you're in the top 25%, you get $5, and offered another group nothing, just asking them to solve it.
The incentivized group should have been faster, right?
Yeah.
Motivated by the cash.
They were significantly slower. The reward, by narrowing their focus onto the prize and the obvious functions of the objects, actually made it harder for them to have that creative insight, to see the box in a new way. Rewards encourage linear thinking, but creativity is often nonlinear.
Okay, that's a powerful trio. Killing intrinsic interest, hurting performance, and crushing creativity. What's flaw number 4?
Rewards can crowd out good behavior. This happens when you put a price tag on things people might otherwise do for altruistic or civic reasons.
Like volunteering or donating blood?
Donating blood is a great example.
Mhm.
People typically do it out of a sense of community duty, altruism. It makes them feel good about contributing. Now, what happens if you offer to pay people, say, $10 to donate blood?
It changes the motivation, doesn't it? It becomes a transaction.
Exactly. It shifts it from the moral sphere to the market sphere. And $10 is frankly not much compensation for the time and inconvenience. So the payment might actually reduce donations because it undermines the intrinsic altruistic reward without offering a compelling financial one. The good feeling gets pushed aside.
You lose that internal drive and the external one isn't strong enough. Interesting. Flaw 5 sounds pretty serious for organizations. Rewards can encourage cheating, shortcuts, and unethical behavior.
This is almost inevitable when the reward becomes the sole focus. If all that matters is hitting a specific number, sales quotas, test scores, production targets, and a significant reward is tied only to that number.
People will find the easiest way to hit the number, even if it means cutting corners.
Or worse, think about Wells Fargo employees opening fake accounts to meet sales goals, or schools cheating on standardized tests when funding is tied directly to scores, or companies shipping faulty products to meet quarterly targets. When the reward is paramount, the how becomes secondary. Ethics, quality, long-term consequences, they can all get sacrificed in pursuit of the prize.
The incentive itself creates the perverse outcome. Okay, flaw 6. Rewards can become addictive.
Yes, it's like a drug in some ways. Once people get used to receiving a reward for a certain behavior, they come to expect it. The activity itself provides less satisfaction. The kick comes from the external reward.
So you have to keep offering it. And maybe even increase it over time.
Often, yes. To get the same level of compliance, you might need bigger or more frequent rewards. The person becomes dependent on that external validation or payout, and their internal motivation engine just doesn't restart. It fosters dependency, not self-direction.
And the final flaw, number 7, which seems huge for businesses. Rewards foster short-term thinking.
This is a massive one. Think about corporate culture driven by quarterly earnings reports. If executives' bonuses are heavily tied to hitting those short-term targets or boosting the stock price this quarter,
They'll make decisions that look good now, even if they hurt the company later.
absolutely. They might slash R&D budgets, cut back on employee training, postpone necessary investments, or engage in accounting tricks, anything to make the immediate numbers look good and secure that bonus. It sacrifices long-term health, innovation, and sustainability for a short-term gain.
The reward structure actively discourages long-term vision.
Wow. Okay, those 7 flaws paint a pretty damning picture of if-then rewards for anything complex or creative.
They really challenge the foundations of traditional management. For 21st century work, the carrot and stick isn't just outdated. It's often counterproductive, even toxic.
But wait a minute, this doesn't mean money doesn't matter at all, right? We still need to get paid.
Absolutely not. Let's be very clear about that. Compensation is critical. But its role is different in Motivation 3.0. Think of it as a baseline or a hygiene factor.
Okay, what does that mean? A hygiene factor.
It means that inadequate pay is a powerful demotivator. If people feel they aren't paid enough or aren't paid fairly, it causes anxiety, resentment, distraction. It makes it almost impossible for intrinsic motivation to flourish. So the main purpose of money is actually to take the issue of money off the table.
Precisely. You need to pay people adequately and fairly so they're not worrying about rent or feeling cheated compared to colleagues or thinking about jumping ship for a better offer. Once money is off the table as a major concern, then they can focus on the work itself, on autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
And fairness has a couple of dimensions here, right? Internal and external.
Yes. Internal fairness means people feel they're paid appropriately relative to others within the same organization doing similar work with similar contributions. If someone doing my job gets paid way more for no clear reason, that breeds resentment.
And external fairness.
That means being paid competitively compared to people doing similar jobs in other companies in the same industry or region. If the market rate for my role is significantly higher elsewhere, I'm going to feel undervalued and be tempted to leave.
So, step one is ensuring that baseline compensation is sufficient and fair, both internally and externally.
Yeah.
Get the money issue handled.
If you don't meet that baseline, forget about fostering intrinsic motivation. People will be too preoccupied with the unfairness or inadequacy of their pay.
Okay, so baseline pay is crucial. But are there any situations where those traditional if-then rewards do actually work reasonably well?
Yes, for those truly routine algorithmic tasks we talked about earlier, the ones where there's little inherent interest or creativity involved, so there's not much intrinsic motivation to undermine in the first place.
Like simple data entry or very repetitive assembly line work.
Exactly. If the task is fundamentally dull and follows a strict procedure, then offering a small, straightforward if-then reward, like a piece rate bonus, can sometimes boost performance or compliance without the same negative side effects you see with complex work.
But even for those routine tasks, there are better ways to handle motivation, aren't there? Ways to inject a bit of that, like the tight thinking.
Definitely. Even if the task itself is boring, you can still engage people more effectively using 3 key practices. First, provide a clear rationale. Explain why this task matters, even if it's tedious.
Connect it to the bigger picture. Like, sorting these files accurately helps us serve our clients faster.
Precisely. Help people see the purpose behind the drudgery. Second, acknowledge that the task is boring. Don't pretend it's exciting, show empathy. Saying, look, I know this isn't the most stimulating part of the job, but it's really important that we get it right, shows respect.
Validating their experience instead of trying to manipulate them. And the third practice.
Allow people autonomy in how they complete the task whenever possible. Even in routine work, there might be flexibility in the order they do things, the tools they use, the time of day they tackle it, or even just listening to music while they work.
Give them some measure of control, some agency, even within the routine.
That little bit of autonomy can make a surprisingly big difference in mitigating the soul-crushing effects of purely mechanical work. It respects their individuality.
Okay, so routine tasks are one thing. But what about using rewards for creative or complex work? If then is bad, how should we recognize great work or provide bonuses?
The key is to shift from if-then to now-that rewards. This means the reward should be unexpected and given after the task is completed.
So it's not a contingency negotiated beforehand, but a genuine recognition afterwards. Like, wow, you did an amazing job on that project. Now that it's finished, we want to give you this bonus as a thank you.
Exactly. Because it wasn't dangled beforehand, it didn't distort the person's motivation while they were doing the work. They were likely driven by the intrinsic factors, the challenge, the autonomy. The reward then comes as a pleasant surprise, a token of appreciation.
And it reinforces the behavior without controlling it.
Right. And ideally, these now-that rewards shouldn't always be tangible or monetary. Often, specific, genuine praise and constructive feedback are far more powerful motivators, especially for type I individuals.
But the feedback needs to be done right, too.
Yes. Focus on effort and strategy, not just innate talent or the outcome. Praising someone's hard work, their perseverance through difficulties, the clever approach they took that reinforces the growth mindset and the value of mastery. Just saying you're smart or you won is less effective for building long-term drive.
Okay, this makes sense. Baseline pay handled, avoid if-then for complex work, use now-that, reward sparingly, and focus on praise for effort. Now we can really talk about building that positive intrinsic motivation, Motivation 3.0.
This is where we unlock type I behavior, and it rests on 3 innate psychological needs, 3 pillars: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. AMP.
Autonomy, mastery, purpose. Let's break those down, starting with autonomy.
Autonomy is our inherent desire to be self-directed, to be the causal agents in our own lives. It's not necessarily about being independent or working alone. It's about having a sense of choice and control over what we do, when we do it, how we do it, and who we do it with.
And you made the distinction earlier. Control leads to compliance, but autonomy leads to engagement.
That's the core difference. When people feel controlled, they might do what's required, but often minimally. When they feel autonomous, they engage more deeply, invest more discretionary effort, and are more committed. The research consistently links autonomy to better performance, learning, and psychological well-being.
And there are practical ways organizations can foster autonomy, often summarized as the 4 T's. Let's start with task.
Autonomy over task means giving people some degree of choice over the projects they work on. The classic example, though maybe less common now, was Google's 20% time.
Where engineers could spend a day a week on projects of their own choosing.
Exactly. Management trusted that if you gave smart, motivated people the freedom to pursue their own ideas, cool things would happen. And they did. Gmail, Google News, AdSense, many incredibly successful products emerged from that autonomous time. It shows the power of letting people choose what they work on.
Okay, the second T is time. Control over when work gets done.
This challenges the old butts in seats 9-to-5 mentality, which is often irrelevant for knowledge work. It's about focusing on results, not hours clocked.
Like the results-only work environment, ROW.
RW is a prime example. In a ROW system, employees have complete autonomy over their schedule. They are judged purely on their output and results. If they meet their goals working odd hours or from different locations, that's fine.
What's the impact? Seems like it could be chaotic.
Companies that implemented it often reported higher productivity, increased employee satisfaction, and lower turnover. Giving people control over their time shows trust and respect, allowing them to integrate work and life in ways that maximize their energy and focus.
Third T technique, autonomy over how the work is done.
This is about resisting the urge to micromanage. Define the goal, the desired outcome, but give people freedom in choosing the method to get there. Think about Zappos customer service reps.
Right, they're famous for amazing service, partly because they don't use scripts or have strict time limits on calls.
Exactly. They're empowered to solve the customer's problem using their own judgment and personality. Management trusts them with the how. Micromanagement signals distrust and stifles creativity and engagement. Autonomy over technique unleashes it.
And the final T team, autonomy over who you work with.
This is maybe less common, but very powerful. It acknowledges that collaboration is deeply social. Some innovative companies allow people some say in forming their teams.
Like at WL Gore, where leaders have to attract volunteers to their projects. Or Whole Foods, where teams vote on new hires.
Yes. When people have a hand in choosing their collaborators, commitment and cohesion tend to be much higher. It fosters a sense of shared ownership and responsibility within the team.
So task, time, technique, Team 4 key levers for boosting autonomy and engagement. Let's move to the second pillar, mastery.
Mastery is our innate urge to get better and better at something that matters, to develop skills, improve competence, and make progress in a challenging pursuit.
It's that desire to learn, grow, and achieve proficiency.
And it's a powerful driver. Remember that study of engineers. Intellectual challenge, the opportunity for mastery, was a better predictor of productivity than pay. We are drawn to activities that allow us to stretch our abilities and see ourselves improve.
And achieving mastery often involves getting into that state of flow.
Flow, as Mihaly described it, is central to the experience of mastery. It's that feeling of being completely absorbed, energized, and focused, where you lose track of time and the activity itself is the reward. Peak experience, peak performance.
How do you get into flow? It requires a specific kind of challenge.
Yes, the Goldilocks task. The challenge needs to be just right, not too easy, which leads to boredom, and not too hard, which leads to anxiety. It should be slightly beyond your current skill level, requiring you to stretch, but still achievable.
And you also need clear goals and immediate feedback.
Absolutely critical for flow. You need to know exactly what you're trying to do, and you need real-time information about how you're doing so you can adjust your actions. Think of playing a musical instrument, coding, or playing a sport. Clear goals, instant feedback.
But mastery isn't just about those peak flow moments, is it? There's something more fundamental about the pursuit itself.
That's right. A key aspect of mastery is that it's an asymptote.
Meaning, you can approach it, get closer and closer, but you never actually fully reach it.
Exactly. You can always get better. You can always refine your skill, deepen your understanding. Complete mastery, perfection is always just out of reach.
And that's motivating. The fact that you can never quite get there.
Paradoxically, yes. That's precisely why it's so compelling. The journey is infinite. The challenge never ends. It requires ongoing effort, grit, deliberate practice. But the possibility of continuous improvement is what keeps intrinsically motivated people engaged for the long haul, often independent of external rewards. The struggle is the reward, in a sense.
Okay, that's deep. Autonomy gives us control. Mastery gives us the drive to improve. What's the third pillar? Purpose.
Purpose is about connecting our work and our efforts to something larger than ourselves. It's the why, the yearning to contribute, to make a difference, to be part of a cause or mission that has meaning and significance beyond just our own success or survival.
So while autonomy and mastery are about how we work and what we achieve, purpose is about why it matters.
Beautifully put. Purpose provides the context and the direction. Autonomy and mastery without purpose can feel empty. Purpose fuels the other two, giving them significance. And the research shows people who pursue purpose-driven goals tend to be happier and more resilient.
This seems like a big shift from the traditional business focus on just profit maximization.
It is. Motivation 3.0 suggests that purpose maximization is just as important, if not more so in the long run, than pure profit maximization. When organizations have a clear, authentic purpose beyond just making money.
They attract and retain talent better.
Yes, especially younger generations who increasingly seek meaning in their work. Think about companies like Pama Shoes or Patagonia. Their strong ethical or environmental missions are central to their brand and culture.
It gives employees a reason to believe in the company and customers a reason to connect with it on a deeper level than just the product.
It turns work into a contribution, not just a job. It fosters that sense of we're in this together, doing something important.
You mentioned a simple way to gauge this sense of purpose in an organization, the pronoun test.
Yeah, it's a quick gut check. Just listen to how employees talk about the company. Do they constantly say they decided this, they want us to do that? That often signals distance, compliance, a lack of ownership.
Versus saying we.
Exactly. When you hear employees naturally saying, we are launching this, we believe in this, we need to solve this, that signals engagement, identification, a shared sense of purpose. It suggests people feel like part of the mission, not just subject to it.
Autonomy, mastery, purpose, AMP. That's the trifecta for intrinsic motivation for type I behavior. So how do we actually do this? What are some concrete tools or strategies for managers and individuals?
Okay, let's talk toolkit. For organizations wanting to boost autonomy and innovation, look at things like Atlassian's Ship It Days, sometimes called FedEx Days.
The 24-hour innovation sprints.
Right. Give employees a full day, 24 hours of complete autonomy, work on anything related to the company's products or processes with anyone you want, however you want. The only rule is you have to show something at the end.
Sounds like controlled chaos, but in a good way.
It unleashes incredible creativity and energy. It's pure AMP in action. People tackle problems they care about, develop new skills, collaborate in new ways, and often produce genuinely valuable prototypes or fixes, all fueled by intrinsic drive. Plus, it's a huge morale booster.
For fostering mastery, a big target seems to be the traditional performance review.
Oh, absolutely. Annual reviews tied to rankings and forced distributions are often Motivation 2.0 at its worst, anxiety-inducing, backward-looking, and focused on judgment rather than development.
So what's the alternative? Companies like Adobe and others have shifted to
More frequent, informal check-ins. These are regular conversations between managers and employees focused on growth. What are you working on? What challenges are you facing? What support do you need? How can we find your next Goldilocks task?
So it's coaching, not judging. Forward-looking, not backward.
Exactly. The goal is development and enabling mastery. When Adobe ditched its old system for check-ins, they saw a significant drop in voluntary turnover. People felt supported in their growth, not just rated.
And for activating purpose.
Constant communication from leadership is key. Remind people of the mission. Why does this organization exist? What impact are we trying to have? Start meetings by connecting the agenda back to the larger purpose.
Like Sheryl Sandberg's practice at Facebook you mentioned. Keep the why front and center.
It sounds basic, but it's vital for keeping people connected to the meaning behind their daily tasks, especially when things get tough. Relentlessly communicate the purpose.
Okay, those are great organizational actions. What about us as individuals? How can we cultivate our own type I drive?
One powerful tool for understanding your own autonomy and mastery is the flow test.
Setting random alarms through the week.
Yeah, maybe 40 times over a week. When the alarm goes off, quickly note, what are you doing? How engaged do you feel? Scale of 1 to 10. Are you in flow? Over time, you'll see patterns.
Identifying the activities, times, and conditions where you're most engaged and intrinsically motivated.
Exactly. Then you can consciously try to sculpt your work and life to include more of those flow-inducing, high autonomy, high mastery activities. It's self-awareness leading to self-direction.
For purpose, there's that big challenging question. Define your sentence.
Right. If your life or maybe your core contribution had to be summed up in a single sentence, what would it be? Like Lincoln. He preserved the Union and freed the slaves.
It forces you to clarify your ultimate why, your driving purpose.
It helps you focus your efforts. If your activities aren't contributing to your sentence, maybe they're distractions from your core purpose. It's a powerful focusing exercise.
And for pursuing mastery day to day.
Ask yourself that small, consistent question every evening. Was I better today than I was yesterday? Focus on incremental progress. Did you put in the deliberate practice? Did you learn something new? Did you push your skills just a little bit?
Celebrating the small steps on that asymptotic journey.
It makes the daunting path of mastery feel more manageable and reinforces the habit of continuous improvement.
Finally, a crucial point about nurturing this in others, especially kids. The advice about allowance and chores.
Keep them separate. Don't tie allowance to routine chores. Chores are about contributing to the family, being responsible. That's the intrinsic purpose. Allowance can be for learning money management or for extra non-routine jobs.
Because paying for chores turns familial duty into a transaction, potentially killing the intrinsic motivation to help out.
Precisely. You risk teaching them that helping only happens if there's a payout. And when giving feedback to kids or colleagues.
Raise effort and strategy, not just intelligence or outcome.
Yes. Focus on the process, the hard work, the learning, the perseverance. You really worked hard on that problem, or I liked how you tried different approaches. That fosters a growth mindset, the belief that abilities can be developed, which is essential for mastery. Just saying you're smart can actually be counterproductive if they later face failure.
This is a fundamental shift in perspective, isn't it? Moving away from controlling behavior with external sticks and carrots towards creating environments where people's natural drives for autonomy, mastery, and purpose can flourish.
It really is. It requires trust, trusting that if you provide the right conditions, fair pay, clear purpose, freedom, challenge, people will be motivated, engaged, and perform at high levels. Maybe not instantly, like an if-then reward promises, but in a deeper, more sustainable way.
It's about liberating potential, not just managing compliance. Building workplaces, schools, even families that run on this updated operating system.
Where people are treated as players, not pawns.
So the final thought to leave everyone with, perhaps. If those external, if-then rewards tend to work fast but burn out quickly, maybe even doing damage along the way.
While intrinsic motivation, built on AMP, works more slowly but is self-renewing and leads to greater long-term performance and satisfaction.
Then the question for you to consider is, what parts of your own life, your job, your team, your hobbies, how you motivate your kids might still be running on that outdated motivation 2.0? Where could an upgrade to type I thinking make a real difference?
It's a powerful question to reflect on.
This was it on today's Book Guys. And guys, kindly subscribe and follow us for more such insights on various books. And also, do not forget to join our social media community to stay in touch and get updated.